Hello, stream. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Guns of War live stream. Yeah, so just do some painting and some hobbying. The Guns of War live stream is going to be artillery focused. So if I check your this cam, you can kind of see the desk. So a couple of streams are going to be doing sort of Guns of War, which will be artillery focused, as I said, and then we'll have infantry focused stuff, and then probably cavalry as well at some point. And then bits and bobs will probably slide to the infantry one. But for now, artillery, just because I've not done a lot of painting at all in a very long time. And just because I want units completed, I think artillery might be the way forward. So that's why we're doing some artillery. A while ago on eBay, I bought a load of artillery. Artillery chaps, guns and crew. Now, I don't know what these manufacturers are, but they're all metal sculpts. I've got some Perrys built in as well. But yeah, these sculpts are just absolutely lovely. So I just thought it's a way to get the painting bug back again by painting some real crisp metallic sculpts. So yeah, that's where we're at with it. I've changed my paint scheme slightly as well. So I'm just focusing a lot more on contrast paints, just because I want to get units rattled through. And contrast is a nice, quick way to do it. As long as I'm neat, I think I can keep my standard of painting high. I really like how the flesh can look with contrast paints. So yeah, that's where we're at with it. So yeah, this was a test strip I did the other day, and I'm happy with it. So we're just going to rattle on with it. I've got some on the painting tray, which got a load of infantry. This is that Studio Historia infantry that I printed a very long time ago. So they're there. I started painting them a while back, say a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, stopped. So yeah, let's get some miniature. So here is the tray of artillery. So this is all the artillery I've got. Now, what I was meant to do, which I haven't done. Hello, Mark, by the way. Welcome in, Theramar. What I was meant to do is count up my current guns artillery lot I've got. So let's do another switcheroo, because I've got a load of artillery built already and painted as part of the collection. And this is just really going to supplement and add to. So here is the collection so far. We're currently in a rebasing thing. Yeah, rebasing all my artillery. So we've got Confederates and obviously United States. So I need to count up how many guns I've got and then try match. Just so when I come to painting, I'm not doing more than one side. So at the moment, got my 3 guns from Warlord, which are Confederate. I got another 4 guns Confederate, which are 12-pound Napoleons. And then I've got a couple of Parrot rifles from Perry's, another Parrot rifle, couple of United States Colored Troops artillery, which are 12-pounders, Napoleons, and then a couple more Union Napoleons. So maybe if I line these out and we can count them, and then we'll know. Because that meant, yeah, I've painted up these, which are obviously Confederates. Because I'm thinking now I've got the troops, as in I've got the models. Maybe I'll look at doing 2 gun batteries. So originally I had plans for this to be a unit on its own in a game of like Pickett's Charge or Black Powder. Now maybe we do 2 guns to make a unit. I know some people will be out there and be wild and do 3 guns, but so out of my Union, I've got. So I've done some United States Colored Troops artillery. So I think mid to late war, a lot of them formed heavy artillery units. They tended to be sort of on garrison duty around Washington and whatnot. So I modelled these just up. Admittedly, these are with Napoleons, 12-pound Napoleons, so I don't think they're considered heavy artillery. But then a lot of these artillery units were when Grant took over in the east and started marching on Lee. I forget the name of the campaign. He pulled out loads of these units on garrison duty. He pulled them out and put them into line infantry units. So these United States Colored Troop artillerymen might have ended up going into the infantry anyway. So right, so yeah, so far we've got two 12-pound Napoleons, two parrot rifles, or I can't think what they call them. Bigger than a 3-inch ordnance. Is it 6-inch ordnance? I don't know. So you've got a 3-inch ordnance rifle, which is a bit smaller. But these are parrot rifles, so they're like cast rifle pieces. A couple more 12-pound Napoleons, another parrot, and another Napoleon. So what I probably have to do is pluck out a couple of artillery crews and do at least one parrot and one Napoleon, and then that will just solid up. That will just make up these last two units. As for my Confederates, I've got, at the moment, I've put them all with 12-pounders. Because I know they do have rifled guns and whatnot. Because I've got no thoughts on any historical units, apart from obviously the Rock Ridge. The artillery unit under Stonewall Jackson. I say under him, within his original formation. Is it Rock Ridge Artillery? I'm rubbish for that, I can't remember. Apart from them, who had 4 guns, and I think they were all 12-pound Napoleons. Yeah, I've got no idea of doing historical batteries. I think it'd be nice to chuck in some howitzers and whatnot when it comes to it, which maybe I'll do in the future. I'll have to double check. I'll show you on the stream in a minute. We'll have a look at the artillery and just double check what I've got, because I might have some howitzers built up. But this is my Confederates, which looks a bit light. I don't know. I can't imagine that's... Oh no, and then my units from Warlord Games, which I painted up into the video on. So yeah, technically I've got 7 guns. So if I could do another Napoleon to match this, then that would be 4 big batteries of one of them, or like if we really need to, I just split them up, do them in singles. So maybe this unit back here can be a Napoleon. Obviously, Perry's is it's another thing to mention. Perry's is when you buy a sprue from Perry Miniatures, they will have 6 crew on that sprue per gun. But for example, with Warlord Games here, you only got 4 per gun. So with the Perrys, I think I was building 5 per gun. I think maybe because back in the day when I was looking at doing Sharks practice, it was 5 crew. So I did 5 per gun, whereas I think I'm starting to lean back onto maybe just doing 4 a gun, just making the most out of those sprues. And you know, if I've got any spare, a while back I bought a load of artillery on eBay, and I think I've got so many spare guns and whatnot, so it kind of makes sense to try spread out that crew. So yeah, but that's the collection. I'll show you some extra little guns I've got, and in fact I've got some more that actually need painting. So got this howitzer, or siege mortar, sorry, not howitzer, siege mortar. I'm rubbish, can't remember the name of the company, but it's a metal unit, and then you've got, I'll show them up a bit more up close. So yeah, this massive siege mortar, which would be cool to have in a game. It is based on a Perry's base, I think, like just a small Renedra plastic base, and maybe I'll fit it on the same basis that I'm using for the artillery, which if I've got one handy, I don't. Yeah, which I think it's a 60 by 100. I'll have to double check. So I might chuck that on there, but for now it's fine. And then that comes with what looks like an officer with shoulder bars. And it looks like he's got I don't know, some sort of cranking stick. And then these two. And they've got the shot. So I painted these up. They're in like Union blue, sky blue trousers, but I think because I've kept them pretty neutral, then maybe you can use these two for whatever side you want. And this guy is clearly a Union officer, but yeah, maybe early war, or he could be a Confederate. This is a cool gun I've got. Just knocked my tray, so it's messy again. And then I built some spare officers, basically. So this is a cool gun. I've got another one of these. I bought them on eBay a long time ago. They're 3D printed, but having it as a bit of a gun for a fortification, perhaps. So it's on like a big recoil carriage. It's like a naval gun or something. It looks cool. So I've got that. I've got to play with. And then just some generic officers, which I built from the spare kits and stuff. So this guy is actually from... I didn't show that, but I've got... I've probably showed it on a previous video anyway, so it don't matter. This guy's from Wargames Foundry, I want to say. And he's just got like a hardy hat type thing. So he's an officer to go with my gun. And then, yeah, got a load of just random guys and a spare United States coloured troop kicking around. Maybe I'll chuck it into a gun at some point. But yeah, the officers are always handy, especially if you want to... What I might do is look at doing some bases, some sort of brigadier or brigade commanders for my artillery. So that's where that comes. See if I can find my other gun in it. It's not painted, so right. So here's this other siege gun. I'm saying I've glued these on, so but this one's sort of back ready to load and then put into place. And I've got this cool defensive gun, which sits on a carriage. So this is what you'd see sort of in the forts and stuff. I think it kind of reminds you of something like in Fort Donaldson or something like that. And this would be on like a track in the fort, so it could pivot and roll around on these wheels. And then, yeah, fire. So that's a cool piece, which I'll have to do at some point. Hey, Lou. Nice name, by the way. You almost got me. Hello. Welcome in. I will call you Skunt. That's nice. MDF bases from war bases. So, I mean, I went on eBay and it just so happened to be war bases selling them. But yeah, just any old base. Any old base, any old base. Any old base. So yeah, enough waffling about artillery. Okay, so let's have a look at the guns we've got. So, what's it? I think these are some Confederate artillery pieces, or maybe they're the 3-inch ordnance and the Confederate made Napoleons look very similar. So yeah, I think these are quite cool. I think these are Whitworth rifles, so they're actually breech loading rifles, which again, this is just a bundle I bought off eBay, so I can't really say where they're from. But and as for the crew, I just got a bag of random crew, so I spent a bit of time piecing them together to make units that looked alright. Some Perrys in there, I believe, but yeah, Perry plastics. So yeah. Oh, that's my camera. I knew it would happen. Silly me. All right. That was good, wasn't it? Yeah, I need to like glue my camera down or something so it doesn't do that. So yeah, let's do it like that. There we go. Yeah, so I definitely wanted a parrot rifle for the Union, so we'll put him there. And then should we bring you down a bit? I don't want to knock it over again. So parrot rifle for the Union, so that can live there. And then we wanted another Napoleon for the Union. Should I guess this? No, that's a howitzer. So I don't actually have a Napoleon that I can use, but oh well. Cross that bridge. And then Confederates, I'll do a Napoleon, but I'll use a Confederate Napoleon. Which that looks like a 3-inch ordnance, but also looks like. Haven't seen me in it. Hello, Mikey Blake. You haven't seen me in ages because I haven't been about in ages, I'm afraid. I've been rubbish with all things hobby. I've not really painted much. What I've got here is sort of what I've painted in the last, I don't know, 8 months. So yeah, American Civil War wise, that is. I've done a bit of painting with my Warhammer fantasy stuff, but I've just been out of the hobby, to be honest. Been massively out of the hobby. But welcome. How are you, Mikey, anyway? I've been well. Yeah, I have been well. Just, yeah, not been hobbying. I've got other hobbies like live action roleplay, which we've just come to the end of the season of it for this year, so that takes up a lot of my time and focus when that kicks off, which is about April. So I've been caught up in that, really, and it's between that and doing a bit of gaming. I've not really found time for hobbying. I was sort of saying earlier at the start of the stream that I've shifted my painting to contrast paints, purely because I want to rattle through some units nice and quick, and bring back that enjoyment of the hobby. Because a while ago, some of those models I got from Warlord Games, the American Civil War stuff, is in my old painting scheme. And you've really got to have a painting head on to get through the way I painted previously, because it's just quite tedious. And when you're doing larger units, it can just take a long time and it's a bit of a slog. And that really knocked me out of hobby, to be honest. So I'm trying to revisit the ever-growing pile of shame with contrast paints just so I can get through it. And again, I said at the start of the stream how I I want to just get some completion done, so get that feeling of completing a few units. So the smallest unit I can think of is some artillery. So yeah, yeah. Going back, I'm going to do some streams, hopefully as often as I can. I've got Guns of War, which will be about the artillery, so that's what tonight's about. And then I need to remember what I've named. I've named an infantry one. So when I do some infantry painting, because I've got a lot of infantry that needs to be painted, which I can show. Oh, there we go. Belt, buckles, and boots is the infantry. So that's the name of that stream when that comes. And then cavalry, I don't know, it might be sabres and stirrups. Who knows? So about a month ago or so, I've been working on my Studio Historia infantry with some sort of peri metal commands and stuff, but that's gone a bit on the back burner whilst I do this. So yeah, right. So we've got Confederates, so they'll be. So yeah, all these sculpts are just some metal ones I bought in a bundle off eBay. So absolutely rammed with character, which is really nice to paint. So yeah, that's what's also enjoyable, is get some contrast on some good detailed stuff. Yeah, we got a time management. You know, you've got to do what you enjoy. So yeah, that's why hobby's just taking a small back step. But this is a unit I painted up about last week as just a bit of a tester and get the taste for it, and I really enjoyed it. So it's a 4-man unit for the Confederates. Hello, Benjamin. Good evening. Welcome in. Lovely sculpts. Were they also peri? I don't know. So all these artillery lot I've bought, I don't know the manufacturer. I recognise a few of the sculpts and they're peris, but they're all sort of bundled in with other units. So I had a big bag, and I just about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I was just going through them, putting them in groups of 4 of gun teams. So yeah, I don't really know. I can tell you now that if we're looking here, these 2 are peris. I know they're peri sculpts. I don't know about these guys. And then having a look here, I think these might all be Perry's, perhaps. Maybe we've got some Wargames Foundry in there as well. But yeah, as a unit, as a gun team, I think they look fine together. So yeah. So I've got these here. I've got one other gun crew in metal. I've got a command stand of 3 that I'm going to put onto like a brigade stand. Which ones are on about the squares? Square puddle bases. Yeah, so these ones, for example, these ones have got sort of square rectangle bases. These aren't Perry. I don't really know. I don't know. But yeah, I think they look fine. They look fine. I'm happy with them. So yeah, I've got one other. So I do a brigade command stand. I've got one other metals block, and then I've got 4 guns of Perry plastics. So right, let's do something. So I've got my one Confederate gun that I wanted in this crew here, and they can have that plastic gun. Union. We'll do a Union gun then. Yeah, we'll go for these guys. So this guy's crouch. I don't know who this is. He's crouching down. I don't know what's got that is, but he's got like a bandage on his eye, which kind of looks cool. So yeah, we'll see. Let's get some paint on him. So paints I'm using. Is this the one I'm using? I can't remember now. I've got to remember all my stuff now. Not that, not that, not that. It doesn't help that some of these paints are mixed in from what I was painting the other day. I think this is what I'm using for the trousers, which is Caribbean Ocean from Army Painter. And that's this blue here, which I bought 5 or 6 different contrast and speed paints and whatnot, mixed, and then sort of had a tester paint to see what I thought. And I think I settled on this one for those sort of sky blue trousers. Mix and match and manufacturer is great, makes for more variation, sometimes also more realistic height differences between soldiers. Exactly right, well done. Yeah, I agree, 100%. As long as they're not too bulky. Some sculpts tend to be sort of more heroic scale. Perry's tend to be more realistic. See you later, Mikey. Thanks for stopping by. Anyway, I'll be here for probably an hour. But yeah, I think the swapping manufacturers, yeah, not a problem. And yeah, going back to these contrast paints or contrast style paints, just speeds up that painting process. So it's nice. Got my very old makeup lid paint pot. So yeah. And then I bought a blue the other day, which I think will work for the Union blue on the jackets and whatnot. So which we can test out in a sec when we do this unit. Although some of them are wearing shirts, which is fine. But yeah, it's that satisfaction of getting some units painted as well, where I've got such a collection now that needs getting on with. I had a large plastic collection, and then I went and printed a load of Studio Historia stuff. So I was trying to get on with their units a while back, just because it's so much sitting around otherwise. Gotta love batch painting, yeah, that's it. It's what I've done for so long, and I think maybe that's what's just slightly burnt me out, you know. I remember a couple of years ago, I think I was batch painting 120 Perry American Civil War infantry at once, and it's a good it's good to get units completed. You know, you get that satisfying moment of just getting a chunk done, but it can be a bit of a killer. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do these smaller units just to get that same completion satisfaction, but not burn myself out. Oh yeah, it just burns up that paint pile. Blue is really flowing. It's weird. Yeah. And again, contrast is just such a good way of doing that. If you've got any tips or tricks when it comes to painting artillery or anything, just chuck them in the chat, because I'm always keen to hear it. Something I've really stepped up my game with, started doing my Mega Civil War cannons, is actually looking at the crew and how they function. So it's funny, actually, I saw something on Facebook. It was I forgot that when I talk, I get really raspy throat really easy. I haven't streamed in ages because I don't stop talking. Over on Facebook, I saw a professional painter release an artillery crew that they'd done a photo of, and I can't remember what war it was and whatnot. And the painting was really nice, but they had the firer, so the guy with the lanyard and the firing ignition pin. They had them standing right behind the barrel, and the animation was them pulling the cord. So immediately I thought, as soon as they pull that cord, the gun's just going to go straight back and flatten them. So it's something that, like, I think if you want to try up your artillery game, think about how the artillery functions. Nothing better than sit down with a few hundred minis and a good audiobook and then go, today we paint belt buckles. Yeah, that's the problem with batch. Yeah, it's with those bigger batches. It's yeah, you could spend like a whole day painting rifle straps, and it's tough. So that's my one Union. I need some more Confederates. Let's do one more Union gun, and then the other two can be Confederate. Although I need to be doing these in batches in pairs, because I'm doing 2-gun batteries. Just started watching the TV miniseries Grant again. It's been years since I've watched that, and yeah, I do like it. It's a good series. Sorry, Anglo-Saxons, not Saxons. Once painted 350 Saxons in one go, did almost break the camel's back. Yeah, you got to be so careful. Because also, like, it's a hobby we enjoy, and yeah, you don't want to put yourself off the hobby because you overdid it once. I think that's what done me the past 6 months or so, is I did a large Tomb King army for the Warhammer Fantasy, and admittedly that was contrast paints, but still it was just a bit of a slog. And you know, I don't know whether it's something I'm growing out of at the moment, or I don't really know. It's just I used to just be happy to sit there and just chuck a good hobby YouTube video on and just rattle away, whereas I don't know, the last couple of years I've just shifted where I'm like, just haven't got that energy or focus to do that, or what feels like time. You know, the only reason why I've done some of the painting in the last couple of months, because I'll just grab my paints down during the day and knock an hour out or something, whereas really my painting time tends to be night times when my daughter's asleep. Shout out to all of you who can sit there and paint for hours. I just don't have it in me. Yeah, that's 100% fair. I think what helps, it's like anything. You get a good video or audio book on or something, and it takes your mind off it, and then you just blitz away. For me, it's that satisfaction of completing a unit, you know. when I get that last unit on the bases, get all the basing done, I get a good feeling about it. And yeah, like, again, I've kind of been out of the funk with my hobby stuff, like the American Civil War and whatnot, but like when you're in the mood, you know, you just chuck a good video on, or like Battlefield tour guides I really liked doing, especially Gettysburg. Chuck one of them on, they're like an hour and a half, and you know, if you're coming to sit down for a couple of hours painting, when you're like zoned in, you can achieve quite a bit in that time. So yeah, I think the trick is don't bite off more than you can chew. Otherwise you're going to burn out, like I have. Because yeah, I've got great plans. It's just trying to keep on top of it and get it done. What are you currently working on then, Benjamin? What's on the table? The only thing with contrast paints, you've got to be so much more accurate and better skills. Because like normal painting, if you run over a bit, you're like, yeah, whatever. Whereas this is a bit more. Oh, I'm going to have to re-hit it with white, for example. Darker, like a darker colour on a lighter colour in an issue. But painting with other people help. We're about okay. Bunch of hobby friends who've known each other since primary school, and we meet online and paint every week, despite being spread all over the country. That's nice, mate. Ah, nice. Actually working on some minis. Sorry, actually not working on minis at the moment, but on a display board for Flames of War. Oh, nice. What Flames of War army you got? I bought quite a lot of the Flames of War American Airborne and American Army and stuff, and tanks and that a long time ago when I was looking at doing 15mm chain of command, which it's an army I've got and I really enjoy playing. It's just I just don't have time for games really. I never seem to get around to playing games. Most games I've played it recently is Warhammer Fantasy, and that was probably 8 months ago. Right, we're going to do some Confederates now. I think I'm going to give one on each gun team some blue trousers. In fact, this gun team's going to have 2 blue trousers. I like Confederates with blue trousers. With Yankee blue trousers. Yeah, it just breaks that up. And then I'm trying to do a lot more butternut Confederates. Because I think you can fall into that trap of doing Confederate grey, whereas I don't know whether it's just more of a lot of the Virginia units wore grey. Again, like if you really want to get into it, you can find your unit you're interested in, and then you can just kind of look historically where they can like got supplies from, because different supply depots and stuff would supply obviously what they could get hold of. Whereas I think typically a certain supply depot might supply more butternut, which is quite an interesting thing to get into if you really want to get into historic accuracy. I'm not that bothered. But yeah, I do like the Confederate with some sky blue trousers. Brits, Indians, Australians, Germans, Japanese. Oh, so you have every army then. Nice, very good. You're true. So you play Flames War quite a bit then? I've never played it. Although it's sort of probably right up my street because I love gaming aids and stuff, and like the fact that they come with like little cards and stuff. I just love that. So me and my game group are trying to get into Legion at the moment, which benefits me because yeah, I love those little command cards and stuff. Something I will have to do with these miniatures because they're metal. I'm going to varnish them. I don't varnish my miniatures. I think I've had flack before for saying it, but I do with my metals because they're noticeably, yeah, noticeably paint can come off metals miniatures quite easy. So I will varnish them, but plastic miniatures not so much. Wet palette and speed paints don't mix well. No. Makes sense. You play almost weekly. Ah, very nice. Fair play, respect. I wish I had a games group that I could play weekly with because I got to a point, especially with my Warhammer Fantasy army. Well, to be honest, my American Civil War stuff, I could do it weekly because I've got both sides and whatnot, but trying to find that opponent. But with my Warhammer Fantasy, I got to a point where, admittedly, I only played 2 games, which isn't really much to talk about. I got that bug of being like, okay, so I've done this battle, like what worked for me, what didn't, and then start like swapping in and out of units. So after my first battle, I was like, oh, I noticed this guy didn't do anything, even though I tried my hardest to use them. So I was like, oh, switch it. So yeah, I get that, like that bug of playing a game and then that. But yeah, I just don't have that at the moment, I'm afraid. Something I will. Maybe at some point. Right, where's my blue? I have gone. This is what I've gone for. We'll do a test, but in fact, I might have already done a test. But Leviathan blue for the Union blue. Sugardelic Savage Soul, welcome in. No, I don't do audio books, but I crank up. Yeah, cranking Spotify works also. I use it as a like when I used to do a lot of painting, which again not recently, but when I used to do a lot of painting, I just use an opportunity to learn. So learn about a topic, or I don't know, say, what's my camera frozen? Say my learn about Megs of War, for example. Right, I've just got said my camera's just crashed for some reason. If I want to play a lot of American Civil War, I'll use a good opportunity to chuck some audio learnings about American Civil War on, and then like spend that time to learn it. Or if I'm doing some American Civil War, and sorry, I'm trying to multitask and I rubbish at it. There you are. My computer's having a head fit, sorry. What is going on? Sorry. Right. I've accidentally opened too many things. Now my computer won't do it. And I don't want to end the stream just to deal with it. That's fun. Anyway, back to it. Yeah, I use it as a good opportunity to learn about like a topic, or for example, Warhammer Fantasy. I might put some battle reports on, or I say even like Civil War, you could do battle reports, and then yeah, just a good way of doing another way of just putting stuff on and learning. So right, let's chat. Let's catch up. You're sculpting more than ever. Oh, nice. What are you sculpting? Sort of physical, or is it digital? Yeah, I assume with speed paints you don't want to water it down more. I'd assume. What's... Right. I don't know what my computer's doing. It's having a head fit. There is one of the Prussian value of Prussian blues. Can't remember if it's the plain Prussian blue or dark Prussian blue. Who has similar attributes to speed paints. If you do need a good blue for, so yeah, I haven't looked at it for speed paints, but yeah, traditionally I use Prussian blue for my Union uniforms. But yeah, I've gone for speed paints. Ah. All right. Don't know why everything went a bit funny. It's annoying. So let's do the jackets. Okay. I don't think I dislike this colour. It's quite dark. It looks very purpley in the camera, but doesn't look it in person. It's not as light as the normal paints I use for my Union. So it's definitely a darker jacket, but I went with my normal Union. I tended to go a bit lighter anyway because it just looks a bit nicer. I'm currently sorry, I'm tired. I'm sculpting traditionally. Actually did a Confederate officer lately. Most of the time I'm doing 50th century fancy. Oh, nice. Ah, cool. How do you work for a company then for your sculpting and stuff? Or is it just for your personal use? I really want to get into sculpting, probably 3D sculpting, and just have a play and yeah, just for myself really. Maybe release some at some point. But yeah, I want to do some sort of special Confederate special like American Civil War stuff. Anything unique that you can't really get on the market. I thought it'd be fun to do maybe personalities. So some of those fancy generals, perhaps. Who knows? Right. Yeah, the camera makes it look really purple and patchy, but it looks okay. I think I'll have to try it and we'll see. Never had a great interest into the American Civil War, apart from some movies I like, but I haven't studied the subjects and uniforms. I was kind of hooked. American Civil War does that. I can't remember why I originally looked into the American Civil War, but I think when you get into it, you start to realize how deep it actually goes. And then just found a new respect for it, really. Of, you know, in fact, I'll tell you why I got into the American Civil War, because I was like, oh, I like Napoleonics. I just don't like cavalry. You know, it's all about infantry tactics and stuff. And at the time, I thought that was what the American Civil War was. I was like, oh yeah, they weren't really about cavalry and stuff. Don't know why. Don't know why I thought that. So yeah. That's why I got into American Civil War. And then yeah, it turns out actually you do have big cavalries, but the only thing is they're not in fancy uniforms. I think that's maybe why I was put off sort of Napoleonics wargaming and stuff, because the cavalry are so bright and flamboyant. It seems like it'd be a nightmare to paint. I've got some really cool cavalry sculpts I'll have to show off at some point, because it's from Studio Historia, so it's some of their recent Kickstarter, which was all cavalry. It's really nice. And I've printed some. The prints kept failing, which was a pain in the backside. So I don't actually have a full unit, but I've got like the first. Is it the first Virginia? The Virginia cavalry at which Jeff Stewart led at the start of the war. I've got them, and then I've got the Texas Lancers as well, which, I mean, as just a novelty unit, Lancers look really cool. And it'd be cool just to field them on the table, just for looks, really. A bit like, compare it to a Zouave unit. So yeah. Taking commissions. Usually many projects end up in companies. Steel Fist Miniatures have a lot of my stuff. Oh, I'll go check them out. I recognise the name. I just can't think off the top of my head what they do. I'm kind of specialising into doing miniature compatible, Perry miniature compatible minis. Smart choice, mate. Very smart. I would do the same if I was in a sculpting position. Do you know what, something I've been thinking of the last couple of weeks? I mean, I've been thinking of it for a very long time, but it's in the last couple of weeks I was actually thinking about maybe making it reality. Because I've always had gripe with American Civil War manufacturers who do stuff, was lack of backpacks. So a lot of these units don't come with backpacks, which is a pain. So yeah, I'd almost look at doing some 3D sculpt backpacks, and I don't know, resin printing might be the answer for that, but yeah, just give that option and then tailor them to Perry's. So those who have Perry sculpts could just pick up a pack of backpacks and then kit out all their units. So yeah, similar to you on that. Just, I think with Perry's being so, I want to say dominant in the miniatures game, especially when it comes to the American Civil War. So until Warlords started releasing their resin stuff, I don't know, there wasn't really a massively competitive. Well, there's loads of competitive ranges, sorry, but they're all metal. And I've always been against, not against, but I've always sort of shied away from metal miniatures. Recently, I've changed my thoughts on that, but beforehand, I was a bit like, oh, I don't like metals. I don't like the cost. It's expensive. But that's because I was trying to do everything. I was trying to do big, large armies and stuff at the time, so I wouldn't have had the money to do all that with metals. Whereas now I'm thinking, like, actually, yeah, if I was doing a sharp practice army, for example, or a force where I actually only wanted sort of 40-50 models, I could easily justify going for metal now. I always think that I want to start a French-Indian War army for sharp practice. I'd go down the metal route, I think. Metal sculpts they are nice. They do have nice sculpts for metal. They tend to look better, in my opinion, than the plastics in multiple ways. So yeah. That's preference, and I've always been about cost. It's always been about trying to make the most out of my money, which is why I went down the plastic route. Yeah, when you've painted your like 700 Perry plastic, it gets to a point where you're like, actually, I want something with a bit more flavour to it. But I think that's, again, like if you were doing sculpting like doing sort of backpacks, like upgrade packs for Perry sprues, if you were like looking at that as a business, then that'll just extend the life of Perry plastics, I think, for collectors. So again, I bought a lot of Perry's plastics back in the day, a lot. And I don't know if other people are in the same boat or same mentality as me when it comes to collecting. Because yeah, you might find someone's out there and just go like, oh, I want to build a Confederate force, I'm only going to buy one box set. Or at least with the Perrys, you could buy a Confederate box set, you could buy the standard American Civil War infantry box set, because that sort of covers both sides, and then you're like, oh, I don't want to repeat my sculpts. Well, if you had the option to upgrade them with like backpacks and stuff, that might just allow you to go, actually, I'm going to buy another box. Ended up doing, okay, so I started sculpting compatible bodies for Perry War of the Roses plastics. Nice. Very nice, yeah. Cool. In fact, is that where I know Still Fist Miniatures from? Because they sell metal body packs for Water Roses. Might be why they ring a bell. Ended up doing loads of commissions for Water Roses subjects, and I just finished some Swiss packs for Still Fist. Nice, very nice, mate. These guys are all wearing shirts, so they're not going to have blue jackets. They'll have blue hats though. Yeah, someone I'd never say never. Like, I'd be interested to hear Perry's thoughts on that, because obviously they do a lot of metal miniatures to complement their plastics. Those metal bodies are yours. Ah, nice, mate. Yeah, I have seen your work. That's cool. Yeah, like Perry's do metal heads for like the Confederates. You can buy metal heads and stuff. You can buy heads for the American United States colored troops as well. So yeah, I just wonder why they never really thought about releasing a pack of backpacks. Yeah, it'd be cool to do. Or do they just take the opinion that infantry rarely fought with backpacks on? That's a question for them, I guess. They need to answer. Yeah, I'd be keen to hear you guys' thoughts on it. Again, maybe it's just so such a small request, you know. Maybe I'm the only one who cares that much about backpacks. Right. I want to try do different coloured shirts. I don't want to do white shirts all the time, but also, what could I go for? I don't want to go for grey because Confederate grey. Do you know, like the British Army in Victoria era had those sort of grey undershirts? Have you ever seen the film Zulu? I guess just releasing just dollies would burn up some designs that could be used in a future box. Yeah, that's a fair comment, but I wonder if Perry's would ever look at releasing another American Civil War box. They kind of got it all covered. I'm not sure. It would probably be cool to see a infantry in like shirts, so not shell jackets, frock coats. That would maybe be cool, but is that quite specific? Is that something their metal range already covers? I don't know. Thanks for coming by, Benjamin. I'll catch you next time, hopefully. I'll enjoy my painting as much as I can. You enjoy your hobby in bed. Take it steady. Dennis, when it comes to like business decisions, you know, we all want specific things, you know. And ultimately with the Perrys, I think they do what they want, which is cool. Like, it's a cool way to run a business because they can just have fun with it. Again, we've seen some metals, in the last couple of years. They released some flag carriers, mounted flag carriers, and then those colonels as well. So yeah, they released some metal American Civil War stuff. They do visit it. I mean, it's one of their passion hobbies, and so they'll know what they like. Right, let's where's my glue? Put my glue somewhere. So yeah, we might see them add to the American Civil War stuff, but yeah, it's kind of like I would like more American Civil War stuff, but also they do what they want. All this glue pot's on there. Dude, it's dodgy. Just want to stick this guy there. I'll tip it out because my glue pot is the lid stuck itself to the thing. Right. They can go over there while they're drying. Right, Confederates. Again, I'm trying to look at the more button up. So maybe we'll, which is what I've done here, which I quite like the look of. It's quite bright, but I think as an army on a table, you know, you want to accentuate those colours, make them a bit more punchy. So this is Agros Dunes, I think, from GW, and I think it works nice. I guess it's coming down to the cost of plastic injection molds, steel fist release metals, and resins. Those can be done in small scale, but plastics are a big investment. Plastics are a big investment, you're right. And I think Perry's have covered. This is probably the reason why. I'm saying that. Warlord Games obviously bought that American Civil War range from Forgotten Glory. Is it Forgotten Glory? They bought that and then they've done it in resin. I don't know. I assume you can't just take that metal and make a plastic mold with it. I don't know how it works. So yeah, they've obviously done resin. So Perry's could look at doing that, but I mean they've got metals, so yeah. Again, it's do they want to put all that effort into releasing another box set of American Civil War stuff? And really, they've got it more than covered. Dismounted cavalry, that would be good to see in plastic. But again, they've got such a big metal range. They just don't need to. I don't think. You know, if they start releasing it in plastic, then they're just going to lose money on their metals. But hey, I love all their stuff, to be honest. There are so many good manufacturers out there for ACW, quite spoilt for choice. It's just the majority of them are metal, and metal is expensive. But I really like the Games Workshop releases of the Forgotten Glory stuff. Again, I've got 4 box sets, I think, and yeah, really like him. I just need to get on and paint them because they've they're just sat there. I think when I'm in the mood to do it, I'll have to crack on and do it. But for now, we have artillery. I didn't notice that this guy's got a sash on, so he's an officer. I mean, okay, NCOs have sashes, right? There you go. Got some button-up trousers. Literally shaving a block of aluminium and forming the sprues. In order to do plastics today, you need CAD models, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they could have just taken the sculpts from metal sculpts and made them plastic, because I assume they've got to be digital. And then is that why? I guess the Perrys might be able to do it. I don't know. Money as well, and I imagine resin's cheap. Imagine resin casting. And again, I don't know how popular American Civil War is over in the UK, so that might affect things, you know. And again, with the Perrys have covered everything already, and for them to release a plastic box set, I don't know if that's just purely to benefit us. You know, I don't know if they would see a benefit in it. Although they released some plastic Spanish Napoleonic War stuff recently, which has looked really nice. So who knows? And they already had them in metal. They got to release the Trent Affair next. That's what they need to release. Trent Affair, British plastic. That's going to be my I've got loads of money and want to spend it project. say loads of money. I don't need, but you know. I always thought that with before I lost my deal with YouTube over monetization on the channel because I stopped releasing content. I did have a member, Thiramar, who was in the chat earlier. He was just trickling away some money in support of the channel, and I was kind of thinking actually it'd be nice to put any channel money towards something like units and stuff. So maybe just get some nice, whether that's something I pick or maybe we do a channel vote. Yeah, just maybe buy a nice model metal unit or something like that, and maybe doing some 1860s British. I know Perry's have got sculpts. I did look into it about a year back to see realistically if I wanted to look at setting up a British intervention force, what I'd want to go for. Because there were troops stationed in America, in Canada when the American Civil War was going on, obviously because of the Trent Affair. So yeah, I could. There's information out there. It's just I think there's like some guards. There was a guard unit sent over there, another foot unit, line of foot over there, and then a lot of it's just Canadian militia, I think. Perry's, so not just the Perry's, but most companies try to do their most broad and popular subjects and yeah, exactly. You're right. It just makes sense that they're not going to want to invest X amount of money into a plastic box set and then struggle to sell it. Because if we want them to continue making good models, we need them to continue being a business. So it makes sense. Makes sense. I really hate this Siocast rubbery thing. What's that? Is that what? Siocast rubbery? I don't know what it is. Hello, Mark. Welcome in. You have nothing to add to the subject. That's fine, mate. That's fine. I've been sat there thinking I'd love to learn at ACW, but I don't know where to go for the knowledge. If you're hinting at what I think you're hinting at, you've got to sign yourself up, mate. Joking aside, though, tons of really good stuff online. My advice to anyone who wants to look into American Civil War, a plastic tooling starts from 20k. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard it closer to sort of 30 to 40k for a plastic sprue set, which is nuts. Yeah, if you wanted to start into the American Civil War, I think media is the best way to go about it when it comes to sort of watching films or miniseries or YouTube stuff, because it's just got it all there and it's pretty good quality. You've got stuff like the American Battlefield Trust does some great stuff. You've got a lot of their battlefields, Gettysburg being the main one. You've got loads of good park rangers doing tours. There's a YouTube channel called Stuff Writer, and he records a lot of the battlefield tours, which is really good, informative. Matt Atkinson is my favourite Gettysburg ranger. He does amazing stuff. Hello, Tim. Welcome in. Hey, buddy, I'm so glad you're back. I was getting a bit worried about you. You're responsible for me taking up American Civil War. Do not feel worried for me. I've just been rubbish at hobbying. So I've been well, just not been hobbying. But welcome in. How is your ACW projects or collection getting on? Please do share. I'm just working on some artillery at the moment. I bought a load of metal artillerymen, like, I don't know, feels like a year ago, probably was. So a couple of weeks ago I sorted them all out, put them into gun groups and sprayed them, and now I'm painting them with contrast paints. So I've changed, obviously I've done a few videos on how I paint stuff. I've completely changed my paint scheme now, so just purely down to just I want to rattle through and get some units that I bought painted. So yeah, that's why I'm using contrast. And it looks nice as well. I'm happy with it. I'm not like, yeah, I'm happy with how the contrast paints work. Osprey books are good as well. I got a load for Christmas. Yeah, so I got all the, I say all of them, some of the Men at Arms books. So I think I've got some more somewhere. In fact, no, I've got these. So yeah, these are good for just browsing, and just inspiration and stuff. These is what I like about. In fact, I'll put them on day camera. These are what I like about the Osprey books. Some really good illustrations and stuff, which are kind of cool for. Yeah. What else have I got? All my books are downstairs, in fact. So. Yeah, I got Regiments of the American Civil War by, I think it's Don Troiani. I think I bought that a long time ago off Kane from Facebook. Kane Stewart, I think he runs the 28mm American Civil War hobby page. Contrast and a bit of tinkering over the top of them. Yeah, over them can look great. Yeah, you're right. I think contrasts, like, it depends how what level you want your painting at, but I think contrasts are a great way to do a base layer, and then if you want to go in and start touching up, you're going to really have some nice looking miniatures. I'm using them as just as. So hello Tim, did you print Studio Historia? I believe I printed it at 105% to match with Perry's. It was trial and error. So here's Studio Historia next to Perry's. Can you see that? I'm too high. Right. So I can't remember if these guys are. I think these guys are 105% these Confederates. And yeah, they obviously Perry sit on like a little casting little blobble, so they're a bit higher anyway. But yeah, 105%. That's what I would. But I would recommend playing. If you're printing them yourself, have a play. But I would start at 5%, 105, and see what you think. Because yeah, I noticed with my Iron Brigade sculpts, I printed them at 100%, and they seem a lot smaller. I don't know if it was just the sculpt one. It was one of the sculpts with them backpack marching. And then I've got some sculpts of them doing double time, and those double time sculpts look a lot bigger than the backpack sculpts. Even though they were supposedly the same scale. But yeah, I would 105%. That's what I did with my Burdan sharpshooters as well. Right, back to it. I'm going to give him a lot of butternut on these Confederates because it's different. You know, I feel like Virginia quite like their greys. I feel like Georgia, Alabama, and whatnot. Maybe one more butternuts. I'm going to try chuck in as much butternut as I can squeeze in, just because. Yeah, like my first ever Confederate units I did, the Stonewall Brigade, were all grey, or mainly grey, and yeah, the butternut looks nice. Just breaks it up. So like when I did my batch of Georgians and stuff for Andersons, and no, not Andersons, but I did Law's Brigade. So I was doing Hood's division at Gettysburg. That's what my Confederate army's based around. So yeah, my last lot I did for them was a lot of butternuts, but they were like Georgians and I want to say Floridians, maybe. I can't remember. It's all on my phone, but and that's where like having Confederates with blue trousers as well just breaks that block up again, like that grey. If you fall into the trap of doing lots of grey. So yeah, that's what I try. So it gives the Confederates maybe a bit of less uniformity as well, which I know they weren't all ragged and rabble. For example, some states chose butternut not because of supply issues, but because that's what colour they wanted. So, especially when the states were supplying their own troops, you know, they got a say in what they wanted. So, yeah. Can I tell you what states preferred butternut? No, not that learned on the subjects, but I know they did. So. Let's say Texas were one of them. I don't know. Texas had a bit of a, who knows. Right, that is gun. This is the thing. I need what colour shirts I'm gonna do, because if I show you this. So this is a gun crew I painted earlier, which I've shown this off loads already, but this chap's wearing a shirt and I've given him a red one. Which yeah. It looks nice. It's just I don't want everyone to have red shirts because it'd look a bit wellish maybe. But then white shirts as well, I've done that in the past. A checkered shirt would be the ultimate, wouldn't it? But I'm not that good. I haven't got the energy to do that. Right, I've got another strip here. What am I going to do for my... So my Union needs a Parrot Rifle and a Napoleon. Confederates, let's do a Confederate gun. We'll make these Confederates as well, because then that gives me 4 Confederate guns. What colour am I going to do them? We'll do a bit of... couple of... So you'll have... You're going to be the same as that. What's that? Like a casting thing? These are nice though. I must admit, these sculpts. So this is the argument for, I think, metal sculpts over plastic. Like I always used to say I like plastic, but again that was because of cost. Whereas yeah, you just don't get these details on plastic miniatures, in my opinion. Not in any available in the American Civil War range. It's kind of what I like about Warlord, what they've done, releasing resin, so metal castings but in resin. Although it ain't much cheaper than metal, so. But there are some people out there that just don't like metal, which is fine. It's allowed. And then you're basically getting that metal quality casting, but in resin. And it's really nice. I really liked the Warlord game sculpts that I picked up. I really like them. Hey Talos, is American Civil War? Is it popular in the UK? I'm gonna say I don't know. I'm not really qualified to say, but I would say no. There's definitely a group out there that like it. But is it super popular in my local Wargames club? Although I'm not that traversed in the historical groups, it tends to be a lot of Napoleonic. But I think with a lot of wargaming at the moment, you've got a lot of old guard, right? You've got a lot of old guys and stuff that play it. And I think maybe back when they first got into the hobby, it was all Napoleonic, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. There's definitely a following for it, but yeah, I think, you know, I watch Little Wars TV quite a lot and stuff, and you get that vibe of Americans that everyone's into American Civil War, which makes sense. It's their history. Whereas I think maybe the British are a bit more all about Waterloo, for example, you know. Which, yeah, Napoleon. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I don't think I would struggle to get a game in my local games club. I might do in 28mm. You know, I think in my games club, again, I'm only speaking from my experience, which is my local games club is Bristol Independent Gaming, up here in Bristol. Um, they tend to play small scale, so I think there's a 15mm group for American Civil War. But yeah, probably not 28mm. Do I give them all? I'm going to give him a butternut jacket. These sculpts are lovely. Yes, Napoleonics, World War II and Ancients are the most popular themes around here. Yeah, I think World War II is always going to be up there, isn't it? As well as Napoleonics. I'm a big fan of Ancients, and I think there's quite a bit of that here as well. I don't know whether I think suppliers obviously make a big difference as well. You know, we're lucky to have companies like Victrix making nice ancient stuff. Which definitely brings up an interest in the hobby, I think, for people. I mean, it's why I got into ancient warfare, I think, was because of the Victrix Republican Romans. So, cool. Right, that's my butternuts done. Put them this way, and then you can see, I guess. Oh. So. Right. I think I'll do the Confederate Grey next. And then we're going to have to tackle these shirts. Trying to do some red detailing on the shirts and stuff, on the jackets as well. But I don't know how. I'll show you here quickly. So this guy's got red piping on his jacket. So I'm going to try to do that on the others, I think. As for the guns, it should be fairly easy. It's really interesting. I was watching. I'm pretty sure it's Gary Oldman. Is it Gary Oldman? He's a well-known American Civil War historian. I think he made a comment about. So obviously, there's when it comes to gun carriages on artillery. I always understood in American Civil War you had brown and green, like an olive green. That's the gun. That's what they coloured their gun carriages. Then Gary Old, something I heard like a couple of months ago, him saying it was only ever brown. You know, they never really used green, which is interesting. I don't know whether green was something that came after the war, and like a lot of the gun carriages maybe when they're preserved at battlefields they're painted green, but actually during the war it was small browns. So that's something I'm going to do because I've done a bit of both on my artillery. Some are green, some are brown, but I think I'll focus on browns. Victrix have really opened up the ancients category for the broad audience. Not everyone can afford huge metal armies. Exactly, mate. 100%. I agree with that. And especially Victrix early sculpts as well were so good value, in my opinion. Their more modern stuff price is creeping up a bit, but then also their quality of sculpts have drastically improved, in my opinion. Tim Bennett, pack and bed rolls were usually left alongside the route in the battlefield. Yeah, I agree. I just love the look of backpacks and bed rolls on infantry units. So, like a lot of the Studio Historia stuff, I've printed with backpacks because I just really like them. For example, my infantry here, they've all got backpacks on. Just because I just like the look of it. I think it looks smart. So yeah. Again, it's personal preference. But yeah, like you're not wrong. During battle, they wouldn't really have backpacks on. You know, I can't think of much battles where you might be forced off the march straight into battle Maybe like Gettysburg when you got 5th Corps that kind of marched in and then went straight onto the line. But I'm sure they probably had time to dump all their stuff. So, but no, I like the look of it on my models. So I'll try get backpacks and stuff where I can. But yeah, I think you're right. They'll ditch him for the battle, and then it becomes battle loot when the battle's over. Right, what was I going for with grey? Basilicanum grey. That's what I'm going to go for the Confederates, just because it gives that browny grey. You know, it's not such a dark grey. This is again showing these guys, but this is what I painted them up as a test to kind of use as testing colours and whatnot. But this grey here, this grey here, I think it's a dirty grey. It's something I started doing in my Confederates on my old paint scheme, where I painted them grey, and I used to use a Null oil, so a black wash on them, and then I started using Agrax, which is a brown wash. And it just changed the dynamic of that grey a little bit and just made it a bit more of a dirtier grey, a bit more earthy grey, and I just preferred it so much for the Confederates. How would you mould the straps for the backpacks, or wouldn't you bother? It's a very valid point. You know, if I was gluing backpacks onto my infantry, you wouldn't have that option really, which would be a shame. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's answered my question of why has no one done it. For me, I wouldn't mind it. I would be happy just gluing a backpack on back of a person and looking the other way. So yeah, I don't know. But again, backpacks are an interesting one. Studio Historia based in Athens, yeah. I think I knew that. I knew they were Greek or Greece, from Greece. But yeah, no, Studio Historia are cool. Is it Raphael who does a lot of their sculpts and stuff? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I like the costing for Studio Store is really good in my opinion for like just getting units out there. Some of the poses though, I think with their with their Sundered Union stuff's quite similar. So but I'm yet to really chuck too many of those units on the battlefield. So I'm looking forward to just getting in and getting them finished. Because I do like the look of a lot of them. You know, you've got some good dynamic poses. Some of the shooting poses, for example, that's not really something I've touched on with their prints yet, is their firing poses. A lot of the print, like everything I've printed off for them is marching. So yeah, I need to get into that. Get some of those shooting poses printed off. But I a while ago I printed like over 100 miniatures for Studio Historia, so I need to just get on and paint them before I print anything else really. That's my goal, is stop getting more miniatures and start finishing more miniatures. That's why I'm here doing these. Something I am looking forward to with Studio Story. I bought a lot of their I bought all their Kickstarters so far for the American Civil War. So I'm looking forward to probably the most getting some artillery printed, just because they got a good selection of guns. What printer do I have? I have an Elegoo Mars 4, which is a larger one. I haven't got it at my house anymore. I've taken it into my work because it's I've got more space there and stuff. And at the time, someone I worked with wanted to print some prints, so I was like, well, that makes sense to me. Just bring it in. To be honest, it's pretty cramped up in this loft. There's not great ventilation and stuff, so it's probably best I don't have it here. Yeah, I got an Elegoo Mars 4. I think it was a 4. Maybe it was a 2. I don't know. But no, yeah, it prints nice. It's a nice printer. I could print a whole regiment of 24 miniatures in one go, which is nice. You know, my first ever printer had quite a small build plate on it, so yeah, you could only print like 18 miniatures, I think, at a time. So if you want to just print off a regiment, I had to do it in 2 prints. So yeah. But yeah, I've got these. I got the infantry printed from Studio Story, and then I printed some of their cavalry. So I need to. I found their cavalry prints were they were a pain to get printing right, and they kept failing. So I had to really go in and adjust the um, supports and whatnot. So I think I'd done about 3 prints, and I'm still yet to have a completed cavalry unit. But I've got some First Virginia and some Texas Lancers printed. And I'm really excited to get the Lancers painted. I need to get on and do them, because they just look phenomenal. They look really smart. But yeah, I just want to focus on some of these guys for now. Because what I need to do is get some more printing, get the last of the cavalry printed that I need before I paint them up. Because constantly postponing buying a resin printer because I can't afford a spare room in my own Athens, in my summer home. I have the space, but it can only be accessible on the weekends. Yeah, it's a lot of maintenance and upkeep in my like. This is why I've taken it to my work, because there's so much more sort of room. So I think with the resin printers, like if you're printing at home and whatnot, that's fine, but they're quite messy, and I don't want resin everywhere. So I'm trying to really be on top of cleaning up after myself, so I don't have any resin left on the side or anything like that. So it just means, yeah, you can get, if you're not careful, it can get a bit messy, and obviously the resin's not great to have around anyway. So you're trying to keep on top of that and keep it clean. Yeah, health hazard, exactly. No, you're right. So yeah, you got to just be careful with it, really. So yeah, that's why I've moved it out of my house. Which is pros and cons. Like, the idea was, now having it in my workspace, is that it's a bit more accessible for me during the day if I want to print. For example, I had a friend who I work with, and they wanted a load of they bought a load of Lord of the Rings sculpts, so they wanted a load of them printing off. So we just spent like a week printing during the day, taking off the plate, setting another print going at night, coming back to it, and just meaning you can rattle through quite a bit. Um, but yeah, I really like the 3D print, the resin printers. They are a lot of work. You know, it's, if people are buying them to just be a nice simple way to print off a load of miniatures, it isn't. It's a lot of work. Um, for me anyway. You know, I would definitely look at getting a FDM printer. A friend of mine's picked up one, and they're printing away. So I would look at getting them, but then I don't think they're really suitable for miniatures. I think so. My friend who's bought a printer, he's doing a lot of terrain, which I think works fine for. I just don't think it works for miniatures. You're just not getting that quality, print quality, I don't think. And again, it's like that. You get some. The sculpts definitely make a difference. Studio Historia sculpts, for example, they're quite lifelike in ratio and stuff, which is really nice. But it means things are thin. You know, like the flagpoles or the spears and stuff can be really quite thin, because they've gone for like a realistic scale. So then when you're trying to print that, it's a nightmare, because you're always breaking them. The amount of times I broke horse legs and stuff, you know. Whereas if I compare them to Highland miniatures for my fantasy stuff, they've gone for like a heroic scale, which is quite bulky. And yeah, I think out of the hundreds and hundreds of miniatures I've printed, I think I've broken like one spear. Whereas with the Studio Story like the rifled muskets, just picking them up, I can accidentally hit them and snap one off. So it's, yeah, you do have to be a bit careful, which is my only, I don't want to say criticism, but that's my only criticism, is they've gone for this real scale, which is nice, but it just means as a hobby perspective of like playing on a tabletop, if you're not careful, you're going to be snapping them off all day, which is a shame. So I like the Perry rifled muskets. They're actually quite big in comparison to the person, like the miniature, and how I see it, which makes them just a bit more durable. But also maybe that's down to what resins you use, and you can get some real durable resins out there. So maybe I need to look into that. I'm slowly getting to 3D sculpting, but again, I like working traditionally. I'm a graphic designer, so a chance to get off my PC is more appealing than more time on the screen. That's fully fair, mate. That's really fair. And I think there is a certain charm about, I think, traditionally sculpted miniatures that are cast in metal or potentially resin. They just have that sort of, the details really pop. I think they're just more pronounced. And especially with using these contrast paints, it really takes to them. You know, it really makes that stand out a bit. So yeah, if money wasn't an issue in my hobby, I would definitely be buying more metal sculpts, 100%. You know, I really like the Wargames Foundry stuff. Like, I could buy so much of their stuff. I love it all. Just haven't got the money. Because yeah, if you're, I think I've said this previously on the channel, a very long time ago now, probably. But if you're trying to build a unit of infantry, 24 models, you know, you buy a Perry's box, it costs you 20 quid to buy 24 models or whatever. Whereas if you buy Wargames Foundry, it's going to cost you 30, 40 quid to buy a unit of 24. So there's quite a difference in cost, in my opinion. Yeah, the way I see it. But again, like if cost isn't an issue to people, then I would certainly be getting more metal because the quality is very good. And I like the Perry sculpts. I do like the Perry plastics, but metal sculpts out there just nicer, or just different. It's like my meditation time when sculpting a bomb space. Sorry, and I don't know. Lucky enough. Yeah, mate. It's like, I imagine a lot of us in the hobby, when it comes to painting, this is our meditation time. You know, this is when we just wind down. You know, find that zen. And yeah, that's nice that your hobby pays for it. Like, that's pays for itself. That's fair. It's kind of like, I think everyone's dream who sets up a YouTube channel is to, especially, well, for me it was. I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to do this, this, and this, get monetize my channel, and then if I'm getting 20 quid a month or whatever from my channel, then that goes into the hobby and that pays for maybe a unit of miniatures, or, you know, and but realistically, it's not worked out for me. But I'm sure there's some of the bigger channels out there, like Miniature Realms, Seventh Son, Boots on the Table, to name a few. You know, they're probably get a little bit of spending money from it, which is nice. So yeah, do what you love and get paid for it, and that's the trick. It's not work then if you're doing what you enjoy. That was my really bad attempt at a famous quote, which I can't remember. But yeah, it'd be nice to again, I've got this idea of any money raised through the channel, I might like look at sort of buying units and stuff. You know, maybe I look at doing talking about doing the Trent affair earlier. Maybe I do that. You know, first wad of cash that the channel makes, I'll buy a unit of Perry's Trent affair models and start that army. Who knows? YouTubers getting harder and harder, but lately they seem to promote small channels. Yeah, I've noticed that with the small channel thing. Quite a few times that I've been just browsing YouTube, it'll come recommend a channel with like 8 subscribers or something, which is nice because I remember it was a long time ago now, but probably when I had, I don't know, a couple of hundred subscribers, and I had British Legion. Is it British Legion? I'm terrible remembering. They did a shout out on their channel for me, and then overnight I had like, so like 50 subscribers or something, you know. So yeah, those recommendations, like when you're a little channel, just because you're not out in front of many people, you know, I think numbers grow, you know, supporters grow supporters. So you just need to kind of get your name out there as a small channel. I know Napoleonic Wargaming as well. They do channel shout outs quite often as well, which is great. Thank you, Mark. Find a job you love doing and you'll never work a day in your life. Is that a work? Yeah, that's it. That's basically what I said. So yeah. But I mean, yeah, I remember when I first set up the channel, it was a slog to get anything going. But then, like, you roll, and I mean, I've been so lucky that, and you know, grateful that the channel has still grown, even though I've not really been releasing content because I'm naughty and haven't been doing it. And the channel's still been growing, which is great. You know, it's kind of kickstarted me into, because originally I had this, again, going back to the channel trying to fund my hobby. I was like, you know, when I hit 1,000 subscribers, that's sort of one of the goals on monetization of the channel. So I kind of said to myself, when I hit those 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to really up into gear, just so I can push that sort of next step. But I didn't do it. Again, it's just me being a bit rubbish. So, pretty sure this guy's wearing a shirt and I've coloured it in grey like a jacket. He is wearing a shirt. Whoops. It's a grey shirt now. That's fine. That's fine. People can have grey shirts. They're allowed. Another thing I said, I've painted one of my guys with a red shirt, and I was like, I don't really want to do too many red shirts. However, being an artillery unit and their colour being red, it does lend itself a bit to that, you know, for hobby sake, not historically accurate sake, but for hobby sake, having a red shirt on my artillery guys, it's kind of like, yeah, it makes sense. Makes them more obviously an artillery unit, avoiding the fact they're stood next to a big gun. That's a good thing with these speed paints and contrast paints, is I ain't far off finishing these guys. Right, this guy's wearing a shirt as well, and he's got a red sash because he's an officer. So I might put that red sash in now. I'm just going to do the red now, and then we'll come back and hit other reds. Just because the sashes look nice. And then what I'm doing with the Confederates, I give them brown boots, and with the Union, I give them black boots. That's just a personal preference. If you want to be really picky, you could maybe switch it in between, but then When you're batch painting, you don't want to be like, okay, so this guy's gonna have this color boots. This guy, you know, you just want to hit it all on the same. So red sash for officers, and then I think it was golden sashes for major generals or lieutenant generals in the Confederacy. And as these guys, he's definitely not a major general or lieutenant general. He's getting a red one, so he wouldn't be standing with a gun. Although I think, can't remember what battle it was, but Longstreet was. I think his staff went and rode over to a gun crew and helped him out because they were getting licked. American Civil War terminology. Licked. Trying to think which hill it was that wore a red shirt. AP Hill. It's a general. Anyone who doesn't know, they most of all. AP Hill or TH Hill. You had two hills, which was confusing. I think it was AP Hill. He had a supposedly always wore a red shirt, but I don't know if it was ever. I think it was at the Battle of Gettysburg. So if you go and watch the film, at the very start when Lee rides through Gettysburg, you have someone like greet him wearing a red shirt, and I think that's meant to be. I'm going to say AP Hill. I don't know. Someone correct me. But I think that was meant to be him. But then supposedly he never wore a red shirt at Gettysburg or something like that. It's a bit like Picton at Waterloo. You know, some people doubt he didn't wear a uniform. In the film, he's depicted wearing a black suit because his uniform never turned up in time or something because it was getting cleaned or fixed or mended. But then supposedly that wasn't true. But I don't know. Military rumours. Do I give them all white shirts? Be easy. Just hit them with apothecary. Shake, shake, shake. That's the only problem with contrast paints that I've got. Where is it? It's just like where it's separated. I've seen like people do nail polish, like vibrator shakers. They're like little vibrator pads, and you put the paint. People use them for contrast paints, which is clever. So yeah, I've got 4 more crews in the pots over here, which are periplastics. I don't know where I'm going to allocate them yet. I think maybe we'll finish all these gunmen, all these gunners, get them on the bases, and figure out what to do with our last crew. Because I've got some howitzers, which would be nice to model up, because I've not got any modelled howitzers. Again, like a lot of the systems I play or want to play, they don't really have much variation in artillery. You might have heavy and medium artillery, but more or less the same. You got the nail polish shaker? Yeah, I know. I think I need to. Look, that's as far as I've got. Vigorously shaking away. I'm shaking paint, honest. But yeah, I need to probably get one of them. So, who knows? Maybe a next upgrade. What I need is a bigger paint desk. That's what I need. Although it's working okay at the moment. I bought this tray recently, this thing up here. Let me show it this way. That thing up there. Which is just from, I think, Sarissa Precision. No, it's not. It's TT Combat. The idea is I can just take that downstairs, and if I want to quickly do some painting, because everything's upstairs in my the gaming setup. So yeah, if I ever want to just... We're still going. We're still going with the Apothecary White. What an annoyance. Ah, right. I'm going to put this white on, and then what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to end the stream just because it's getting a bit late. I'm a bit tired. But we achieved something, and it was enjoyable having a chat with everyone as well, which is nice. Oh, where's my name? That might work. I've spilt some of the blue on this guy, so it doesn't quite work. There is a super €60 for. Was that a fancy Japanese paint shaker or a fancy Japanese nail polish shaker? I think what I might do is I put Apothecary White on these shirts, and I might come back and hit it with a dry brush of white, just to bring the shirt colour back up a bit. And then the braces are on the trousers, which need colouring in, but probably just hit them with a brown or a black. Cool. That's one shirt done. Oh, paint shaker. Yeah, that's €60. Seems a lot. I mean, ultimately, it's just a vibrating thing, isn't it? So you can get a nice cheap nail polish one. It might do the trick. I'm going to show you this sculpt of this guy in a sec because he looks smart. He's got his sleeves rolled up, which I think looks really cool, especially when you can then just, it just shows a bit more skin, and like I do like the skin poking through when you got like a pink it just breaks up those colours when you just got a bit more flesh going on. I think it looks a bit smart. So this guy here, just painted him in. See, he's got my camera in the way. He's got his sleeves rolled up. I'm gonna have to go and clean some of that up. I think just a bit of grey on him, but I like it. Right, that's one shirt done. These guys have all got shirts. Almost like the Fire Zouaves at Bull Run, first Bull Run. They all went out in their shirts. It's that famous painting of them, isn't there? I do like the Fire Zouaves. I've got some flags of them actually. I know Perry's do a metal set. So I do want to paint them up. But they were 90-day volunteers, right? So unless you're doing really early war, or if you're not that bothered and just have a bit of fun with it, yeah, when are you going to use them? But saying that, I started painting up a load of Zouave units a while back, and when I played a game with Battle Bunker HQ. I'm so rubbish with names. Anyway, Lee invited me over for a game a while back, and I took all my Zouaves because I was like, yeah, they're just fun to see on the table. Certain units are just fun to see on the table, and rule of cool trumps all rules in my opinion. So, yeah. Making sure I get everything. Right. I've played Motivation, so I won't be late to your next one. I hope it's the same day and time. I live in Oregon. I'm thinking Sundays might work well for me for a stream, because it's either that or I'll play games on my computer. So, which I play games on my computer every night. So maybe Sunday's a nice little wind down stream. Maybe something I should make more regular. And that gets me ready for the day at work. So yeah, let's I haven't got anything planned going forward on Sunday, so maybe I'll do some more streams. It's nice to have so many people in the chat, actually, which is helpful. You've applied notifications. Yep, nice, thank you. When you said I applied motivations, I was just like, oh, you've had a word of yourself and you've gone, right, I'm gonna do it next time. So no, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna let's and if anything crops up, then probably not. But yeah, let's try to do next Sunday, because it's also been nice chat to people. It's always hard to say with streams. And do you know what happens is I always get the urge to do it on a Monday, and that's when the plastic crack podcast stream. So I'm like, well, there's no point streaming at the same time because I'm not going to have any, and I stream for reasons of it's nice to have people come and chat, and then I get to chat to people while streaming. And if they're doing their stream, I'm never going to have anyone here. So Sunday night might be the answer, I think. So yeah, answer your question. Yeah, okay, let's do it next Sunday. And hopefully, probably have these done by then. Although I'm not making any promises. Every time I make a promise about painting a unit by a certain time, it doesn't happen. But yeah, I've got those other 4 gun crews to do as well as that command base. So yeah, maybe we'll get onto them next time. Again, these contrasts are so quick. Yeah. So I'm at a point now where I'd put some flesh on them, do the blacks, and do the black colours, and basically, leathers. Sunday night is good for chilling, so maybe we'll make it a regular thing. And yeah, it gives me an excuse to do more painting. Jones, I've really enjoyed painting these. They're nice. They're just absolutely rammed with detail, which is nice. Makes it easier when you're enjoying painting something. It makes that a little bit easier, I think. Paint something you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. There you go. That's a quote I just came up with. This guy's cool. He's like, oh. And he's got that belt sash and stuff. So, they give him a white shirt. Everyone gets a white shirt. Oh, I've got the red detailing to do on these jackets as well, actually. Which might make them stand out a little bit. Oh, I can see the little bit. That's where I should have put more red. No. I couldn't see the top half of the sash on the back, and now I've just found it. So I need to go back and do that. And it's just hair colour. What hair colour am I going to go for? Some of my older stuff was everyone was getting brunette hair because it was just easy. He looks like you at the bar. Another! Yeah. And he stood up. Right, I've got about 1 million messages. Oh, why is my phone battery so low? I've been on it too much, obviously. Yeah, so I've got a cool thing actually for the channel coming up soon, which is not actually American Civil War related, but a potential channel sponsor. I say that really loosely, so don't take my word for it, but a friend of mine is setting up a shop for 3D printing, so that's a bit of a deal. I'll get some prints off him. Prints I actually want, which not American. They're going to be more like desert themed houses and stuff like that, which probably lean more into my Warhammer Fantasy stuff, but I want to do a video about them really because they're really nice prints. They're from a company, and yeah, my friend is basically set up a shop that can sell them, so I'm going to do a video or something like that about them at some point, and it'd be nice to paint up these because they look really nice. Something I've been after a while. They're like desert buildings, desert abodes, and yeah, it'd be nice to paint them up and show them off. So and then yeah, I'm going to hopefully have them as a channel sponsor, which just gives us opportunity to share our business and shout about their business and stuff, which is cool. Right. Shirts done. I like the look of the backpacks or anything that makes figures stand out. My responses are all late because I rewound when I joined you. Not a problem, Tim. Although you're not going to hear this for a long time, but yes. Yeah, no, that same with me, mate. I really like the backpacks just because they're something different. You know, when my whole collection is the Perry's plastics, or more or less the whole collection of Perry plastics, where there's no backpacks. To start having backpack units there, it just makes them look a bit different, a bit more unique, which is nice. You know, variation. Again, when you've got like 500-600 American and Civil War infantry on the table, and they all look very similar because they're the same sculpts, it's nice to break that up. It's the same with this artillery crew. You know, I think I picked him up on eBay a long time ago, but just having different sculpts in there rather than the Perrys, yeah, it's nice. So, right, let's do the red detailing. Just because that's something I can do a sec. I'll let the shirts dry and then maybe chuck the flash on. Oh, and then I got all the browns and the belts and stuff. Whoever has belts. Some sloppy painting from me. It should be easily hidden though. Put this guy here, put some red piping on his jacket. It's those little touches look smart, I think. Like making that effort to put the piping in, which again, like, it's not something I normally do. But then I would say a lot of my painting looks pretty bang average, so anything you can do to just make that little extra pop, I think, is worth. You know, if you're not batch painting hundreds of miniatures in one go, then you can spend that time to just add those little bits. Then it looks smart. Again, I'm not trying to preach to anyone because I don't normally do it, so it's just something I've started trying to do. Just up my game. Cool. Same done. So any problem with contrast, I think they're less forgiving when it comes to making mistakes because you almost need to start again on the old white base. Again, if you're using dark colours, it's less of an issue because you just dark colour over another colour, but I'm trying to use a light colour. I think something that's good as well is if you're trying to give like colours to a unit, whether it's blue for infantry or yellow for cavalry or red for artillery. Collars, doing coloured collars is really good. I did a lot of my dismounted cavalry for the Union, gave them yellow collars, and it just makes them stand out a bit more, really. Let's chuck this in. Yeah, it's just kind of that from afar, having those little highlights just makes them stand out a bit more on the table, and it's not hard to do, especially on these sculpts here where they're just a bit more pronounced. Like I tried to do it on some of the Perry plastics, and they're a bit more fiddly, but these also said about like painting the collars and stuff on the shirts or jackets, painting like cap brims as well, brims of caps, colour. So like, again, like the artillery might be red, and infantry blue, cavalry yellow. All right, Also stripes on the trousers. Something I've not done on this at all, but some of my old artillery, I put like a pinstripe down the side of the trousers. Again, red for artillery and yellow for cavalry and some infantry units. Right. I wonder if I do white. Just knocked him off. Sod it. So it's hard to say, but this guy here, he's got an I've done apothecary white on him, and it's actually like a really light grey. Wondering if I just leave him rather than dry brushing him. We'll have a look. Browns. Not quite there yet with browns, to be honest. Don't know if I've got the strength to do browns. Ooh, too much glue. It really comes in when you put the flesh colour. I always think that with even with my old painting style, when I did flesh tones, when I started doing that, it started to make the model pop really. I'll tell you what, I'll show this off actually quickly. So this is going to be my command stand. So numero uno, he's got binoculars. He is a Union officer, so he's going to have to be Union, but he's got some like binoculars looking in the distance. That's cool. Got a sword on him. Then this guy here is like taking notes. He's got a little notepad. Again, no idea what manufacturers these are, so if anyone knows, please tell me. And then this person here, he's just got like a canteen out, like he's getting either offering a swig to someone or something. So I'm going to put them on a just a round base, probably round. Yeah, I think round. And that'd be quite nice to do. In fact, let's chuck some paint. Sod it. Let's chuck some paint on them whilst these guys are doing their thing. I'm not going to carry on with those guys because the next detailing is going to be all the belts, the boots, the caps, stuff like that. So let's just chuck a bit of paint. I know what these guys are going to be. They're going to be blue trousers and dark blue jackets. And we're giving red bars on the shoulder bars. Red. And then once they're done, I think we might end the stream there. I didn't intend on going till 10. I was going to go till 9, but because everyone's because we've had some lovely chatters, and they kept on going. All my brushes are really bad. And not in good condition at all. So what about this? This paint just spreads really well, but it's spreading up places I don't want it to spread. So on matey's trousers done. This officer's got big long boots on, which is cool. I say officer, I don't know what he is. He's hanging out with an officer, isn't he? Maybe I'll give the officer dark blue trousers as well. Some of the officers had... so I think... I'm right in thinking that at the start of the war, I don't know if anyone's in the chat is going to know, but at the start of the war, I think the US Army regulars wore the same colour trousers as their frock coats. So it's like that dark Prussian blue. So I think that's why someone like the officers wore the same colour trousers. So that's what I'm going to do with my artillery officer here. I'm going to give him dark blue trousers. Right. I'm using less toxic resin, but my rifle's bayonet swords keep snapping off. What resin do you use? So I use Elegoo standard grey resin. So it's there like standard 2.0, I think, standard resin. That's what I use, and I get on well with it. But yeah, it's probably not the most durable. But then I've not really had any. I was recommended this resin, that's why I started using it, and I'm happy with it. Again, it's what sculpts you're using. Studio Historia sculpts. they're just really thin. Ankles are thin. The guns are thin. So if you're not careful, you're going to be snapping them all day. And I have been snapping them loads. Whereas my what's the name of them? Highland miniatures, which are a bit more chunky, don't have issues with them. So I know that's not really helpful, but yeah, I use Elegoo standard grey resin. I'm sure there is probably better durability resins out there, but I couldn't recommend. Official colour indigo. For the trousers, do you mean? I don't know. I know they grew a lot of indigo, so the south anyway. Let me tell you. Yeah, so like a dark blue, right? Is there like the jackets? Yeah, it's like a dark blue. No jackets. For what? Sorry. Yeah. So the dark blue for the Union jackets, and then I think I don't know if you're catching up with the thing we were just talking about. I think the U.S. Army regulars had dark blue trousers as well. So that's what I'm going to do for this officer. Give him dark blue. Again, it's quite nice to have the officers in a slightly different. It's a bit like when anyone talks about Napoleonic British and how the officers would have a different red to the infantry, and that's purely because they'd have better quality uniform. So that was a nice nod to, like, if anyone wanted to do it, to take it a bit seriously, you could do your officers in like a lighter red or a richer red, because they'd just have a better quality. So I think it's a bit like with the officers, maybe give them dark blue trousers and they just stand out that a little bit more. I guess it's a bit like I think the Iron Brigade traditionally had dark blue trousers as well, but they were special. This guy's got a red sash as well, which I'll have to paint on in a minute. Again, I don't know what sculpt this is, but it's nice. My fault for buying a mystery bundle on eBay, wasn't it? Oh, okay. Hello, Village Rake. Sorry, I didn't say hello a minute ago. Yes, I've gone for like... So what I'm using is a Leviathan Blue from Citadel. That's what I'm using for the jackets. I think it looks alright. So yeah, I'm happy using it. I'm going to give the artillery officer red cuffs, I think. Again, just to break up that colour. Make him look a bit different. Make him obviously an officer of artillery. It was a noble profession back in the day. Bring me my brown pants. Might have brown pants after facing down this battery of guns. I know I would. I don't know how those men of Pickett's Charge did all that. It's got to be some of the more brutal artillery fire. They're about the face, wide out in the open. I think they made a tougher stuff back then, perhaps. I want to give him a red cap, but I'll just get him a blue one. But no, the blue actually works well, I think, for what I'm doing. Adrenaline is chocolate. Yeah, so that's the blue I'm using. I've just realised I painted his jacket and no one else's. So at the moment it's it comes across quite purpley because it's in the light, but it's a nice rich blue. Which I think works well for the Union. Right, let's get some paint on these guys. He's got a double-breasted jacket, this guy. I don't know who he is. I like to think he's an aide-de-camp, or, you know, just an officer that can help the main guy. Alright. I don't know what that is there. If in doubt, colour it blue. He's got a knapsack on. Thanks, Matt. I'm painting. Maybe I move my camera because you can't really see the paint stuff. Let me. Is that better? Is that better? I put the camera up there earlier on because I thought that was the better place to be, but maybe not. Maybe you want to see the gruesome details of painting. I've not really got a big enough table to have everything on. Alright. I've got a Fremantle sculpt actually printed off, which I want to do for maybe redoing Longstreet's base. I'm going to redo him and chuck Fremantle on there. Big question then, if anyone's... What's your opinions on Fremantle's uniform? Are you going to have him in British uniform, or are you going to have him in civil wear? Civil wear, as in civilian wear. Because you have the mighty Gettysburg film showing him in uniform, which apparently he never wore. So it'd be interesting to see how you would want him modelled. I know how I want him modelled. It'd be interesting to see your guys' thoughts. Civvies. Yeah, fair. I mean, historically, yes. Slightly biased. I would want him. In fact, I am going to have him modelled as in his uniform. Just because, one, I think the red's quite striking and quite cool, and two, yeah, British military uniform. So, yes, I'm going to break the mould of historical accuracy and have him in his uniform. Yeah, so in Gettysburg he is wearing his uniform. Again, supposedly he never wore it in Gettysburg. So, yeah, a funny thing with Fremantle I don't know what military rank he was. Was he a major? So he was like a major in the Queen's Army. Was it Queen's Army at the time? Yeah, Victoria, wasn't it? No. Yes? Can't remember. Um, let's say king. No, I think it was a king at the time. So he was like a major in the army. So he went over to America to be like a not an advisor, but like a what do they call it? Anyway, to follow the he basically paired himself with James Longstreet and like embedded himself in the camp, and he went around sort of watching what they're up to. It was Victoria, was it? Okay. And I think he claims that he was on there and he was there on behalf of like the British government at the time as an official observer. That's an observer. I couldn't think of the term. Yeah, so he was there as an official observer, but then supposedly he wasn't there as an official observer. He just went over to America on a bit of a hollybobs and just said he was there on official business, so people let him do what he wanted. Don't quote it as fact, but that's what I heard, and it's quite a funny statement. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know the truth behind it. But yeah, so yeah, Longstreet had him at his camp. But I mean, yeah, I think I'd want him in British uniform because I think he'd look cool. I've got the Studio Historia does sculpts of Fremantle, and they do both. They do his military uniform and civil wear, so you could do both. I do have him somewhere actually. I 3D printed him a while back, but I don't think he's off his supports, so probably no point showing him because you're not going to see much. I do like the red on the sash, just makes it all stand out a bit more. Probably he got free breakfast. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's the thing. I assume at the time the Confederates took it a bit seriously because they saw it as a way of having British support and recognition. So they probably, yeah, were keen to have him about. But whether he just took advantage of the situation. Cool. I've just clocked the time that it's a lot later than I thought it was. He's now got his red on him. So yeah, that'll make a nice little command base at least. I think I said I was going to make them Confederates at the start, but they've got Union bars on, so shoulder bars. Cool. Yeah, as for the artillery guns themselves, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it, but it's probably just going to be real simple, especially with contrast. What I normally do is just paint all the carriage one colour, and then I'll just hit the details with like a lead belcher or something like that, and then wash it with a known. As for the barrels, I think I do in black, and then dry brush a gold over there, and it just gives that sort of bronzy look. And as for the parrot, it's just going to have a black barrel. So cool. Right, I am going to end the stream there because I was going to do it 10 minutes ago because I'm going to have a quiet wind down before bed and then work tomorrow. But thank you for everyone who's come tune in. That's actually really great. I didn't expect to have so many people in tonight, but thank you. And then hopefully, all going well, we'll have another stream at, I'm going to say 8 o'clock next Sunday, just because 8 o'clock's normally my time I'm free. I think I was on a little bit earlier today. I can't remember. So but no, it's actually flown by. But no, I appreciate everyone coming to stop by. Tim, there you go. It's just my brain's gone, so I was trying to. Tim, you're watching this on a slight delay, so I'm going to say goodbye now. But I mean, in your time, it will be fine, but for me it's now. So yeah, thank everyone for coming in. I really appreciate it. Talos, I'm going to go check out some more of your sculpts in a minute from Stillfist, so nice one. Mark, it's a pleasure as always. And I'll catch you guys all hopefully next Sunday, 8 o'clock, maybe a bit later, maybe a bit earlier, who knows, and we'll go for another couple of hours then. So thank you very much. Have a good rest of your weekend and have an enjoyable work week and hobby time. And